Welcome to the Winning Edge podcast, where we share focus, fueling, and faith-filled stories and strategies to give young athletes the tools they need to become the best versions of themselves as athletes and individuals.
What you eat and how you think can transform your athletic performance and overall well-being. Whether you're an athlete, coach, or fitness enthusiast looking to gain that mental edge and optimize your health, this podcast is for you. We are your hosts. I'm Lindsay, former collegiate athlete, coach, educator, and educational coach for over 20 years, and a mom of two young athletes.
And I'm Stacy, a registered dietitian nutritionist of over 18 years and also a mom of two young athletes.
I am so excited today because I get to introduce our guest who I've known for quite a while, and because our friendship and our journey has been so special to me. Years ago, Shareese came into my classroom as a paraprofessional, and her energy and passion for life and children just touched my heart immediately. And we instantly connected. And I was coming out of postpartum depression, and she quite literally pulled me to go to boot camps with her, which helped me find my spark and my nutrition and fitness journey again. And that's when I met her youngest son, Tobias, in upper elementary school. And the way that she parented and supported him as a young man, as a student, and as an athlete helped me identify how I wanted to raise my son. And over the years, we've gone through some incredible moments together and some really, really difficult and tragic moments. But our friendship and our faith has always remained stronger and more powerful than any high or low. Shareese is an absolutely incredible educator and touches the lives of her students and everyone that comes to know her. Her son, Tobias, is my boy's hero. He is an outstanding baseball player at Rice University, an incredible student, and one of the most genuine human beings I have ever met. Her oldest son, Sterling, also played baseball in college and is currently a coach for a top select baseball team here in Houston. I am so proud to have Shareese Houston-Motley on our podcast today. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Now I can dry the tears away. Oh my gosh, it took everything not to cry while you were saying all that. And it brought back a lot of memories, a lot of fun things, and some things we've been through. So
Yeah.
thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, and I think we're most excited, Shareese. We have a lot of parents who follow and listen to our podcast and to the content that we put out. And I feel like you sort of embody, as a mom who's done this with boys who've played college sports, really being focused on creating well-rounded humans. So I'm super excited to get to talk to you, for you to share your wisdom with us. I'm sure you have some great tips for our parents who are listening, because it wasn't always just about the sport. And I think in the way you've raised them, it's allowed them to excel both on and off the field.
Thank you.
Can you share a little bit about the boys' sports journey and how they got into baseball? Like how baseball became such a focus and a passion for them?
Yeah, it's a funny story, actually. We are from Dallas originally, and we went to, what is it called, kids? It's a taekwondo type of school for kids. And Sterling was taking taekwondo, and one of the little boys came in with a trophy. And Sterling had never seen a trophy before. And he was like outdone by this golden, shiny thing. And so Sterling was like, "What is that boy has?" And we were like, "That's a trophy." And so he was like, "What's it for?" And I was like, "It looks like it's for baseball, because there's a baseball player on top of it." And he's like, "I want a trophy." I said, because he was like 4 years old, 3 or 4 at the time. And so we talked to the parents, and they let us know about the Carrollton Little Pony baseball league that they had in the area. And we went and signed him up, and he went out there, and Sterling's always been like the biggest kid on every team he's been on, because he's a tall guy.
Yes.
And so we went out there, and they put us on a team. And when the parents saw us coming, they were like, "Yes." I was like, "I don't know. This is our first go around, so don't get too excited." And he started playing, and yeah, he was okay at that point. But the funny thing about Sterling, he started in T-ball. He could not hit the ball off the tee to save his life. Like, they had the tee all the way up as tall as it could go. He would swing, hit the tee. Every now and then he would hit the ball. And we just kept working with him at home. And eventually he got to coach pitch. And when he got to coach pitch, he was home runs, smashing the ball. And we were like, "Sterling, how come you can't hit the ball when it's sitting still?" He's like, "I don't know. All I know is when I see it coming, I'm going to hit it."
Well, and I love it because you're like, okay, at 6 years old, 5 years old, whenever he was hitting the ball off the tee, you didn't give up on him, right?
Exactly.
So you kept, and his development progressed in different ways. And I think it's so funny because it's like, we talk about this a lot with kiddos, is it really should be on development, not on
Yeah.
they're really great at a young age or they're not great at a young age, because so much changes. You know, having boys, so much changes as they grow.
It does. It does. So he kept with it. And he eventually, figured out if I hit it over the fence, because he wasn't a fast runner. If I hit it over the fence, I don't have to run fast.
Strategy in that, like, hey, I've just learned that I'm going to get thrown out if I'm trying to run the bases, but if I just hit it over the fence, I don't even have to run fast. I love that.
And then he would sometimes he would hit it it would go to the fence, but not over. And he told us as he got older, man, that made me mad, because that meant I was going to have to at least get a double. So he would have to trek it out and try to get to the second base. Bless his heart.
So now, having two boys,
and
I have to ask
big
this.
kid.
Having two boys, how do you foster drive and desire without fostering so much competitiveness that it's like, because you had two boys, they're both
Right.
playing the sport of baseball. They're both good baseball players, but talk a little bit to our listeners about that for having multiple kiddos playing
Yeah.
sports.
Yeah. Okay. So Tobias grew up on the baseball field watching his older brother. And so he already knew in his mind that he wanted to be like his brother, which was a good thing. And they're 7 years apart. So that kind of helps, as far as the competition part goes. Sterling more or less was the model for Tobias and fostered Tobias's growth in baseball, gave him tips, backed him up, encouraged him. And me and my husband as parents were always there, but the key thing was my husband worked nights. So he would be at work while all the things were going on. So,
Which might have been a good thing, right? Because some of the dads get really into
yeah.
it.
Yeah, because there were a couple of games. So Sterling played for South Falls for high school. And every now and then, my husband would get off work to go to one of the games. And Sterling would be so stressed or nervous because his dad is intense, especially when it comes to baseball. But he's gotten better over the years.
He was pretty good the other night when we were watching Tobias play for the Bombers.
Yeah.
He was so chill.
He's grown, and it's taken time. Just like you say, the boys grow and develop over time. So do the husbands, the dads. There were a couple of times the parents in the stands were like, Shareese, can you tell Herman to go to the parking lot until Sterling hits? Because he would just be so, I guess, wanting to please his dad and not make him, make any mistakes. And we had to have a sit down talk about okay, we've got to make the boys feel comfortable with making mistakes, because even the big leaguers who get paid millions of dollars strike out. Or they get thrown out at first, or they make an error on the field. So it took a lot of family time, a lot of prayer, a lot of growth, a lot of conversations with the boys and how they felt, and for them to get comfortable with saying, okay, yeah, Dad, you make me really nervous. I'd rather just mom be there.
I love, though, that as a mom and educator, you gave that space to your sons to have a voice. And
Yeah.
also you respected both your husbands and your sons in that, to say, they love you so much, they want to perform for you, Dad.
Yeah.
But that desire to perform is preventing their ability to fail and grow and learn. I just love all of what you said. That's great.
I was thinking two things. And the first thing I have to say, your boys have 7 years, and we have gaps between ours as well. And August never made the All-Star team in Little League, but T did. T made it his first year, and August was a little disappointed that I never made the All-Star team, and he made it his first year. And I said, you know what? You're a part of that reason why. So he's watched you his whole life. So his success is also your success. That's how we feel as parents. And he was like, oh, I get that. So I love that you pointed out that Sterling is a part of Tobias's success. And really, he helped him get to where he is right now too. And so I love that. And I know their friendship and their bond as brothers is so, so strong. So I love that for the boys. And the second thing that I wanted to say, because you brought this up, couldn't have been more perfect. So we know that sports is full of ups and downs. And I want to know, how do you help the boys, or how do you help Tobias cope with disappointments and setbacks in the career using faith as your guide? Because you said, we had a lot of prayer, we had a lot of conversations. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's awesome that you brought that up because usually if there are two boys, the younger one benefits from the older one's experience because he's there and he sees what to do, what not to do. And yeah, that's exactly how it happened with Tobias and Sterling. So, and then another thing that you were talking about was the boys' connection, their relationship, to the point where they're still so close that when we go visit Sterling at his house with his family, Sterling still picks Tobias up off the floor like he's his little baby brother. And I actually have recordings of it that I can send to you, Lizzie, to show that I'm I'm not joking.
Yes.
So they're still even close to this very day. The disappointment part plays a huge role in whether the boys are going to be resilient and get past that devastation, that hurt. Because actually, when Sterling was in college, he had a knee injury that required surgery. And he was unable to play for some time. And then fast forward to Tobias at Ranch, our first district game his senior year. He had already committed to race. And the first district game, he had an injury, and it was a season-ending injury that required surgery. And the doctors were talking about he tore his PCL, which 9 times out of 10, if you tear your PCL, you tear the ACL, the MCL, all of them, but only he did the PCL, and he had to go through, oh my gosh, it was a hard time. He had to go through rehab. He had to learn how to walk all over again. He was frustrated. He was worried. We were worried that Rice wouldn't want to keep him as a player. And Coach Cephas, his high school coach, because Tobias was wanting to help lead the team, help be on the field, because he had played varsity since his sophomore year. He was the youngest one on the team. So that was their baby. And I know you remember Michael McAfoos kind of took him in under his wing. And we liked that relationship because Micah was deep in his faith and his Christian walk. And so he was a big part of why Tobias is the way he is today. So we had to do a lot of praying and a lot of asking God, is this the route or the plan that you still have for Tobias? Because he was so passionate since he was 4 years old to play, first of all, high school baseball, and then move up to, he specifically said D1 college baseball. That's what he wanted to do. And so with that injury, we were wondering, like, is this your plan for him anymore? And so he worked so hard, and every time he did his workout at home, he put on his Rice t-shirt. He got on the floor, and it was both me and my husband that went through all the workouts, the PT at home, and we never left his side. His faith grew a lot stronger during that time, and he eventually went ahead and went to Rice, and he was a freshman. And I didn't know this because this is, something new to me, that freshmen usually don't start when they get to college. They don't. If you get a chance to get in the game, that's a good thing. But they started him when he was in Hawaii. He hit a double. They weren't televising it, so me and my husband couldn't see it. So immediately when we heard the crowd go wild, I just started crying and praising God for that. And we wanted to be at his first game where he actually got a chance to play, but that wasn't the case. We were okay with it. And from that moment on, we knew that Tobias was in the place where God has for him to be. Just recently, I know I'm talking a long time, I'm sorry.
No,
I
this is
love
great.
it.
And
This
I'm
is
sorry, I'm
so
trying not to
good.
cry as you're sharing this, Shareese,
Yeah.
because my devotional this morning was on Psalm 34. And as I say this, I'm literally going to try not to cry, but truly I think about Psalm 34:1. I will praise the Lord God at all times. I will constantly speak his praises. And I love that you're sharing it, for those that are listening that know the story about Micah and God's plan for him. And even for Tobias, like, I think about how many parents are in the journey that you're in of watching their child struggles through something really hard, an injury, a recovery, a setback. It's so hard as a parent. And I do think just keep talking, because I love what you're sharing of the story of faith and carrying you through those tough times and carrying Tobias through those tough times. And I'll try to stop crying, okay?
Yeah, it was a rough year that year, mentioning Micah, because that was in January. I don't know if people listening know the story of Micah. He was at Stephen F. Austin playing baseball there, and he was a year older than Tobias. And so
And they'd played together through high school.
Yeah.
They had really formed this brotherhood bond, friendship through their faith.
Yeah. And it's funny because Tobias had to catch a ride with people because he didn't drive. He's a sophomore. And so he rode with a few people. And then when he rode with Micah, he said, Mom, I think I'm going to ride with Micah all the time because he drives like dad. He drives like an old man, like really slow.
Love it.
It's like, okay. He's like, because some of the players drive too fast and it makes me nervous.
Yeah.
And actually, Tobias's first date in high school was a double date with Micah and his girlfriend.
My
Love
God.
Yeah, so I might be telling TMI, but the girl that Tobias went on a date with, actually, that was his first kiss.
Tobias is going to kill you if he hears
Yeah.
this.
I know. He's like, Mom. But I love that they were such close friends. Like, for people that don't
They
know
really
Micah's
were.
story, like, I do think it's a powerful story and testimony too. It's hard to say this as a parent, but it's like God has plans for all of us. He has
Yeah.
parents for he has plans for our children. Has plans for, sometimes they're not our plans,
Yeah.
but
True.
powerful plans. And I think Micah's testimony is that he was so strong in his faith and
Yes.
created brotherhood type relationships like with Tobias. Now God's plan for Tobias is to continue to take that faith and foster it and be an
Yeah.
inspiration for other athletes. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a hard story to share, but I think it's a powerful testimony to the way that God uses different people in different times and places.
Yeah. And it just, and Micah's mom, Melody, actually, helped us. Oh, I'm sorry to cry.
You're fine. You made me cry.
She helped us get through what Tobias was going through because she was actually at the game where Tobias had his injury because it was the first pitch that they went out. The McAfoo's family threw out the first pitch at this particular game. And so, she's been with us from the beginning of that journey.
But also a testimony, Shareese. Like, I think you've been so strong in your faith and fostering that in your sons. A testimony to the McAfee family that she was so strong in her faith.
Yeah.
She raised a young man who
Yeah.
glorified God in everything that he did. And they even glorified God in helping others.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
helped you in your struggle and coming around you. And
Well, and I think that Tobias has become such a powerful role model for his peers and for younger kids. I mean, when I say that my kids idolize Tobias, August thinks he's a superhero. He really does. Not a lot of college age kids are like Tobias. When we went to the Bombers game a couple weeks ago, Tobias ran the bases with the boys.
Yeah.
He chased them. He's got wheels. That's the fastest kid I've ever seen in my life. I mean, my boys were running because they look up to him so much. They just want to be just like him. And so when they're running the bases with him, it's like, it makes my heart so happy because that's the type of kid that I need them to look up to.
Yeah.
And as parents, we pray for that. Like, please find someone good and quality to look up to and want to be just like, and that's him. And it's always been him. Even driving him around after school sometimes when I would have him in the truck, my boys, like, they just loved it. They were like, "Well, we getting Tobias today? Is Tobias coming over?" I'm like, "Whoa, he has a family."
Well, and I think what's so powerful too, I think in a day and age now where many people might wear a cross on their helmet or wear a cross around their neck, I think what you've raised in your son is a man who walks with Christ,
Yeah.
is mentoring to the younger kids. He is not just wearing, Jesus's name on his armband. He's living
That
it.
is Tobias.
Yeah.
That is Sweet Tea, as
Sweet
I have
Tea.
learned his new nickname.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I love it.
Yeah.
Especially because you have a T.
I do. I have
Yeah.
a little tea when he's not so sweet all the time. So,
Well, just speak it into existence. Just
Yes.
sweet tea. Yeah.
a sweet tea. I want to ask because I think a lot of times as parents, we struggle with how do you really support your kid in achieving their dreams? And you've done that. You and Herman have done that with both of the boys. And Sterling also has that servant heart and he mentors and coaches youth baseball with having a baby, like a baby
Yeah.
at home. Not all players should be coaches, but he absolutely embodies what a coach should be. So I just want to have you share with our listeners, like, what advice would you give to parents who want to support their kids' dreams while keeping faith at the center? How did you do that?
Well, I mean, growing up with my mom, she started my faith journey as a young girl. And I know the things that I went through, how important it is to have a relationship with God. Because I went through some things myself that there's no way I would have gotten through without that. And I just wanted to instill that same thing in my children, whether they were boys or girls. I didn't know what I was going to have at the time, but I I modeled as best as I could, what that looked like and shared with them some of my experience. And I think as a parent, sometimes like when I was younger, I would ask my mom questions and she was like, "Oh no, we're not going to talk about that." Cuz I grew up thinking she was perfect. Like she never made mistakes. And that hurt me more than it helped me. Cuz when I tried to live up to her, expectations, like I was like, what is wrong with me? My mom was perfect. How come I can't be perfect? She never made mistakes, did anything wrong. And, I didn't want my boy. The time that she actually talked to me was when she was going to have a surgical procedure. And that's when she sat me and my sister down and told us like some things that she went through. And we were like, wow, we never knew because you never shared that. So that's where I took the mindset of, I want my kids to know I'm not perfect. I never have been perfect. Some of the mistakes that I made, and open the door for them to talk to me and let them know that God can bring them through. Like we can only take ourselves so far as human beings. Because if we could do everything, we wouldn't need God. We wouldn't need our faith. We wouldn't need a relationship with him. I remember Sterling, this story popped in my head. He would have tournaments, right? And they play on Sunday. Sometimes they play early Sunday, depending on the seating of the tournament, what they did the day before. There were many times Sterling went to church in his full baseball gear, uniform. And he said, Mom, they're going to talk about me there. They're going to laugh at me. I'm like, why are we worried about them? Are we giving ourselves to them, or are we giving ourselves to God to be closer to him? And, he would go in, and the first time they did like say, dude, why you got on a baseball uniform? And he's like, my mom made me do it. So, he put the blame on me. That's cool. Because I knew as soon as the service was over, we're going to have to hit the road and get to the baseball fields. So things like that, let them, Tobias and Sterling, know how important, that connection with church and learning and going and being fed was super important. And I'm glad we started at a young age, because we didn't foresee the things that they were going to go through later on in life. Both of them having to have, and they had knee surgery on the left knee. So both of them went through similar situations, and their faith that we started at a young age, set the foundation for them to be able to get through. Now they are who they are. And one of the best things that I feel as a parent, that a coach or people that work with my boys, my grown men, is when they say, you already know they're awesome athletes. That's obvious. But when I tell you that they are good people, they are awesome young men. They go all out for anybody. They give time to the kids, because some of especially at the college level, they're like, I'm too busy. I don't have
They're so
time.
self-focused.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
not Yeah,
Yeah.
love God,
Yeah,
love others should be our mission, and your boys,
exactly.
again, they just truly embody that. They put him first things first, and then they embody, what does that mean? Think about if I were in that little boy's shoes, or that little who's
Yeah,
watching me.
exactly. Exactly. Because when you're an athlete, by default, you're a role model. I mean, especially to the smaller kids. And it just warms my heart. Like last night at the Bombers game, this one little boy, he was like, I've got to get to number 50. That's his number for now, to get an autograph on his baseball. And those moments mean so much to me, because they have tons of guys that they could choose from. But out of all those guys, they were looking for Tobias. And we've had that happen at Rice, where a mom was like, we could not leave this stadium at all if we didn't get to number 21, if we didn't get to Tobias. And it was a girl. She was like, hey, dab me up, dab me up. And I was like, okay. She shared that she played softball, and, she enjoys watching. He was fun to watch, play on the field. And I didn't know she was going to say that. I said, say that again. Let me record you.
Yes, I love it.
But he is the joy that he has playing, it's
Mhm.
like contagious. You can
Yeah.
feel it. A lot of kids play because, they lose that love, but they've
Mhm.
set this goal and they've accomplished it. So they're going to keep going. But Tobias loves baseball, and Sterling does
Yeah.
too. But to watch him play, it's fun. I think I've seen him play maybe 7 positions.
Yeah.
He plays everywhere. He would play in the parking lot if they said you could catch the ball out there. And
Yeah.
that passion and that joy has been encouraged by you and your husband because you've let them make the mistakes. You've let
Mhm.
them see that you've been transparent. Like, hey, nobody's perfect, right? You've
Yeah.
given that space and that safety for them to take risks and be these players that love what they do. And I think that's something that a lot of parents don't realize is we're their support system more than we need
Mhm.
to be the coach.
Well, and I think you've set it up to where, you said this earlier, but I think we always talk about this, and I always tell the story of my son. We were fishing in New Braunfels, and we happened to run into this gentleman, and he was a college baseball player, and he reminded my son, he said, "What does the umpire say at the beginning of every game?" It's 2 words. And he says, "Play ball," because it's a game.
Yeah.
And it should be fun. And I think you've done a great job at setting a life prioritization hierarchy that, like, the
Mhm.
Lord is first, and we are here to do these things in this life. And playing baseball is a game,
Yeah.
and it's meant to be a thing that you do. Yes, you work hard and you love it, but it's like, it's not your ultimate purpose here.
Exactly.
God has a purpose for you that is much greater than whatever your sport is. And I think you guys have set that foundation so powerfully. It's also what allows them to
Yeah.
go out there and have
Yeah.
fun and fail and
Yeah.
be
Mhm.
great.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
see Sterling in his role touching the lives of so many kids. The
Yeah.
ripple effect is just massive. And with Tobias, I really do think Tobias is going to have a career that extends far beyond college. And I think that the light that he is in this world, I think God's going to do amazing things through Tobias. I
Aw.
really do.
Thank you so much. It's I'm trying not to cry. Ooh, again. Because both my boys were born premature. Sterling was born um at 30 weeks and weighed 3 pounds, 11 ounces. Ice was born oh, at 26 weeks, and he weighed
Gosh.
2 pounds, 10 ounces. So they both started like as fighters, fighting to survive, fighting for their lives. And we were at Tobias's appointment yesterday, his physical. Let me let y'all know a little secret. Tobias has had the same pediatrician since he was born, right? Dr. McClintock has been there the entire 2 decades of Tobias's life. And so when Tobias was turning 18, we thought, he couldn't go to the pediatrician anymore because he was an adult. And McClintock said, no, he can come until he's, 21, then he ages out. So we were there yesterday, and all these other parents and we asked Tobias, do you want to go by yourself? Because he's grown, he's 20. And we're fine with that. Or do you want us to go? And he was like, no, I want y'all to go. And so when we walked in, all these other parents are walking in with these little bitty babies and little, kids. And we're walking in with a 6'2", 200-pound, 20-year-old.
Yeah. It looks like he could lift all these kids up in one basket.
Yeah, yeah. So we go in and he gets on a little table, the exam table is for his legs are hanging over the end of it when he's doing the exam and stuff. But Tobias still wants us to be a part, and we're going to be a part no matter how old he gets. And I was letting the people know. I was like, he wanted us here. Please don't think that we're those overbearing parents.
Yeah.
He asked us to be here. He's a kid at heart, but I go back to say this, that, over 2 decades, even his doctor, was saying, I'm thankful that you guys let me be a part of his life, and see him grow through these journeys. And he had to get some blood work done. And the lady that took his blood was telling him, Satan tried to take you out before you were even born. You were here at 26 weeks and weighed 2 pounds, 10 ounces. So God has something big for you. Because Satan doesn't try to do anything to anybody that's going to make a big difference in the kingdom. So you stay true to what God's plan is for you. And this is a lady, we've never met her before. And she was
That's amazing.
and she told him, don't get mixed up with, because, she was like, you're a handsome boy, handsome young man. Don't get mixed up with girls that are full of drama. She said, I'm telling you from personal experience, stay the course, because I had a son that got mixed up with a girl that was drama, and he's dead now. So she was serious. She wanted to share that testimony with him. She said, I lost my son behind a girl with drama. So
Oh, I
for
always tell
her,
mine, Shareese, I'm like, the first question I'm going to ask them when they come home is if they know Jesus.
yeah,
And they're
exactly.
like, oh, mom, we know. I'm like, I'm not even going to care how old they are. My first question for them, because they can't love you if they don't first love the
Yeah,
Lord. And
yeah.
so I love that. What a powerful testimony of,
Mhm,
God's plan for us, but also there is good and evil. And there is,
mhm.
evil out there. That I love her testimony of, like, he tried to take you out before you even started, because
Yeah,
what a danger he knew you would be to this world to
yeah,
glorify a good God who
yeah,
loves us, and
yeah.
to tell that and share that story. And so I love that. This has been so wonderful. I think Lindsay has one more question for you. We want to get your advice before
Okay,
we get ready to head out. So
okay.
Okay, so if you, this is going to be kind of a tricky question. If you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice that would help you navigate their journeys as athletes, what would that be?
I think I would tell myself, don't sweat the small stuff. Just let it go. Everything's not going to be perfect, and don't let that affect you personally. Like, you're doing the best that you can with what you have. And are you going to know all the things? No. I still don't know all the things. I depend on other moms, other, dads who have some experience that I don't have. And community is so important. Village is so important. Lindsay, as you know, well, I went through some things. You went through some things. We supported each other through those things. And that's real huge for me. And to have friends that are walking in their faith walk is so important, because you don't want everybody in your environment, because everybody doesn't have your best interests at heart. Everybody doesn't want to see your children succeed. They may say that, but deep inside they don't. So again, just surrounding myself with women of faith, men of faith, the community, especially in baseball. I don't know if I can talk about the aspect of having a African American baseball player. I don't, because a lot of times we were the only ones there that looked like us. That was hard. So we had to help our boys through those situations.
And the
So
connection that you found was the community of faith.
yeah,
We were made for community. God makes us for fellowship. And so I love that. What a powerful testimony to surrounding yourself by others. Not saying that you can't surround yourself by someone that doesn't know the Lord, because that's also our purpose, is to be here and to glorify him and
true.
to help others come to know him. But I think when you're in the thick of a struggle or a battle, to be surrounded by those whose faith is strong enough to come around you and pray over you and lift you out. And, like, I love that wisdom. I
Yeah,
also think I just have to call this out, because in listening to you for the past 30 minutes, I've been so amazed at, we focus a lot on the athletes and, mentoring to them and fostering their journey. But you really have been a testimony to having your own growth journey as a
yeah,
parent, a sports parent, and being humble and vulnerable enough to say in front of your children, I got that wrong. I have been there. There have been times I've yelled at a game and done some crazy and afterwards I'm like, that is not who I wanted to be or not how I wanted to act. And so I just really also love that you've not only shared about what you've fostered in your own child, but also your journey. Like, you
yeah.
have been humble enough to grow through this as well.
Yeah, it's been definitely a journey, because learning baseball myself, I never knew baseball. So I would be getting upset when the umpires would do something and my husband was like, "Hey, calm down." He can actually say that. That's true. I was like, "But he said my son was out." He was like, "He was." So yeah, it's something. But my advice to myself would be, like I said, don't sweat the small stuff, and know that your children are seeing your response to things so that they know how to respond to things, because they're going to do what you do and not what you say a lot of times. So keep that in mind.
Real quick, because you touched on this. Tobias wanted to play baseball at Cy Ranch, and the banner that was up when he was
Yeah.
younger, he took a picture next to the banner
Hmm.
because he said nobody on the team looked like him. And so every year he took a picture next to that banner, and you have them. And he said he wanted to be on that banner, and he was. And I think that the drive that he has as an athlete, the drive that he has as a student, and his success, I just, that made my heart so happy hearing that from you, because I had never heard that. I don't
Yeah.
know how that's never come up in conversation, but knowing that he was like, I want to be on that poster. I want
Yeah.
someone like me that looks like
To
me on
be,
that poster.
yeah.
And
That
what a
was
role model for kiddos coming
Yes.
behind him as well.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and he was determined. He wanted to set the tone and show that, everybody, can be a part. No matter what your skin color, your ethnicity, you have a place and a purpose. And if it aligns with what God has for you, the sky is the limit, because he was determined. And I was proud of him when he finally got on the poster himself. And as a sophomore, and a junior, there were some more boys that come to Side Ranch that looked like him, and they gravitated towards Tobias. They wanted to talk to him because it's a sport where they really don't see a lot of us there. And it is what it is. It's nobody's fault, but it's important to have somebody that you can talk to see when this happens, how did you handle it? Because unfortunately there's some people out there. Even when Tobias was traveling to different states, he was called some names, I don't want to go into detail. And he had to deal with that on his own by himself. Me and my husband weren't there. And so that's why we wanted to give him a firm foundation, and we let him know these things are going to happen probably because they happen to Sterling as well. So, his faith was a big, thing that brought him through those times, because he's like, I'm just here to play ball. I love being on the field. Even he told his current coach at Rice, he's like, because the coach asked him a question and Tobias was like, I'm going to play baseball, whether it's at Rice or in another school. I just want to play baseball. At the end of the day, you can say what you say, think what you think, but I just want to play ball, and I'm going to do that. So if I have to play right field, left field, center, this summer, he's played all positions except catcher and pitcher. So when he goes back to Rice, he was like, Coach, where do you need me? Like, because I got it. I've got this. Like
And he
Lindsay
really
said,
does.
Yeah,
he'll
but I
play.
also
He
love
does.
that heart. I think so many times it's more of
Mhm.
probably the parents' pride of where their kiddo, and then
Yeah,
sometimes it's the selfishness of it's a team sport, right? So when your coach
exactly.
asks you to play right field or
Yeah,
left field
yeah.
or second base or
Mm-hmm.
You go.
You
you
go.
do what is asked of you to support the team, and
Yeah.
it's selfless and not selfish. And I think that alone for the athlete, for the parent to
Mhm.
foster that in their athlete is really important. So
Well, when I was doing a Facebook Live the other night, those are terrifying, by the way. I don't know
You
if it's
did
because of my
awesome.
age, and I'm like, okay, no, I don't really want to do the lives, but it was talking about all the characteristics of success, right? And what you need to have success. It can only happen when. And as I'm thinking through it right now, he embodies every single one of them. He's willing to
Oh,
take risks. His desire to be better is greater than his desire for a moment of happiness. His work ethic is off the charts. He is coachable. He can handle criticism. He's a great teammate above all else. He's an absolutely incredible student. And he sees every setback and struggle as an opportunity and like a challenge that he's going to overcome. And he's literally obsessed with that process because he loves what he does. And so I think every piece is in place for him to have unlimited success in this sport.
thank you so much. I appreciate that.
well, thank you so much for being here with us today. I feel like this was this is going to be an episode that continues to be close to my heart, and for just your ability to be vulnerable and share openly and honestly with other parents who are going through this journey, your experiences. So thank you so much, Shareese, for being on with us.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor and a true pleasure being with you guys this morning.
Stay tuned for future podcasts where we will bring on exciting guests in the sports world, highlight spotlight coaches, athletic directors, parents, former and current collegiate and professional sports players, sports dietitians, sports psychologists, and more.
What you eat and how you think can transform your athletic performance and overall well-being. Whether you're an athlete, coach, or fitness enthusiast looking to gain that mental edge and optimize your health, this podcast is for you.
Don't forget to join the SPAN community and get more exclusive content by following us on all of our social media channels, including TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and X at @SPAN_athletics.
Until next time, stay faithful, stay fueled, and remain focused on your goals.